Imagine my shock when I discovered my husband had been lying to me about his business trips. Business trips, the most overused, pathetically predictable excuse for cheating in the book. And yet, there I was, staring at the truth like some naive fool who never saw it coming. But that's the thing. I should have seen it coming. This wasn't Clark's first rodeo. Back in our second year of marriage 16 years ago, I'd caught him texting his coworker. Late-night messages that no just friends colleague would ever send. When I confronted him, he cried. Actually cried. Promised me it was a mistake, that he'd end it, that he'd never hurt me again. And like an idiot, I believed him. I forgave him. I stayed. But I also gave him a warning. If this happens again, that's it. No forgiveness. You're out. I meant it then, and 16 years later, I still meant it. We have a daughter, Lisa. She's almost 18 now, a senior in high school. Smart, beautiful, and far wiser than I was at her age. She's the only good thing that came out of this marriage. Oh, and let me introduce myself properly. I'm Janine. I work as a freelance marketing assistant, part-time, mostly from home. It helps with the finances, keeps me busy, gives me something that's mine. My husband, Clark, works as a senior office clerk at a mid-sized company downtown. He makes decent money. Nothing spectacular, but enough to pay the bills and keep us comfortable. We live in a house my parents own. They retired to Hawaii a few years ago and let us stay here rent-free. It's a nice neighborhood, quiet, safe, the kind of place where you know your neighbors and trust them. Like Mr. Stevens next door, who's always tinkering with his cars in the garage. Clark is handsome, I'll give him that. Not just regular handsome, GQ handsome. The kind of guy who turns heads when he walks into a room. Even now, at almost 40, he's got that effortless charm that makes people notice him. But here's what most people don't know about Clark. He needs me more than I ever needed him. His parents passed away years ago, his father from a heart attack, his mother from cancer a few years later. He has one sibling, an older brother, but they don't talk. Haven't spoken in over a decade, actually. Some family falling out that Clark never wants to discuss. So when we got married, I wasn't just his wife, I became his family. My parents welcomed him with open arms. My relatives treated him like one of their own. When my parents retired to Hawaii and offered us their house rent-free, it wasn't just for me, it was for both of us. Clark has nowhere else to go, no family home to fall back on, no parents to call when things get tough, no siblings to lean on, just me and Lisa. And my family's generosity. And yet 16 years ago, he cheated. And apparently he was doing it again. Clark and I have been together since we were kids. We were neighbors at 7 years old, became best friends, started dating in high school. Everyone said we were meant to be, high school sweethearts who made it, the success story. Except we weren't. It all started again about 6 months ago. We went to our high school reunion, one of those 20-year things where everyone shows up to see who got fat, who got rich, and who still got it. And then there was Holly. Holly was the girl in high school, homecoming queen, prom queen, the girl every guy wanted and every girl wanted to be. Even now, 20 years later, she looked like she'd never left high school. Still stunning. Still perfect. The kind of woman who has teenage daughters and people assume they're sisters. She was there with her husband, too, Jason Reed. I'd heard about him over the years, CEO of his grandfather's company, old money, always traveling for business. A millionaire, easily. Holly had landed exactly the life everyone expected her to. Luxury, status, perfection. We ended up sitting at the same table, me, Clark, Holly, and Jason, plus a few other classmates I barely remembered. Lisa didn't come with us. She had plans with her friends that night. Jason looked exhausted. He was polite, shook hands, but you could tell he'd rather be anywhere else. Just got back from a business trip this morning, he said when someone asked why he looked tired. Flew in from the West Coast. Holly insisted I come tonight. He barely talked after that. Just sat there, checking his phone occasionally, clearly counting down the minutes until he could leave. Holly, on the other hand, was in her element. Laughing, reminiscing, working the table like she was still the prom queen holding court. And she kept gravitating toward Clark. At the time, I didn't think much of it. They'd been in a few classes together back in high school. It made sense they'd catch up. But looking back now, I can see it. The way she laughed a little too hard at his jokes, the way she touched his arm when she talked, the way she kept bringing up old memories. Remember when we did that group project together? You were so smart, Clark. I always thought you were going places. Clark ate it up. I could see him sitting a little straighter, smiling a little wider. Later, I'd piece it together. Holly had the biggest crush on Clark in high school. She'd never acted on it. He was dating me, after all. But she'd never forgotten him either. And 20 years later, with her millionaire husband sitting right there ignoring her, she saw her chance. I just didn't see it coming. About a month after the reunion, Clark came home with news. They want me to help out at another branch, he said. Just for a week. They're short-staffed and need someone with my experience. That's great, I said. Where is it? About 3 hours away. Small town, you wouldn't know it. I'll be back Friday. And he was. He came home that Friday with stories about the other branch, how grateful they were for his help, how smoothly everything went. The next month, it happened again. They need me at the branch again, he said. Same thing, just a week. And again, he came home on schedule. This became a pattern. Once a month, Clark would pack a bag and leave for a week to help the other branch. He'd call occasionally, always busy, always with stories about how much work there was. At first, I didn't question it. It seemed reasonable. Companies do this kind of thing. But then about 3 months in, I noticed the watch. It was expensive. Really expensive. The kind of watch you see in magazines, not on the wrist of a senior office clerk. Where'd you get that? I asked one evening as he was getting ready for bed. He smiled, almost shy. It's from the company. Employee of the Year award. Can you believe it? I raised my eyebrows. Employee of the Year? Clark, that's something you tell me. It just happened last week, he said. They had a little ceremony at the office. It was no big deal. No big deal? That's a huge deal. I hugged him. I'm so proud of you. He hugged me back, and for a moment, everything felt normal. Good, even. But a few days later, Clark left for work, and I was straightening up the bedroom. I was making the bed when I noticed the watch box on his nightstand, fancy leather embossed with a logo I didn't recognize. Curious, I picked it up. It was heavier than I expected, lined with velvet inside, and underneath the velvet lining, tucked into the bottom of the box, was a note card. I pulled it out. The handwriting was feminine, looping and elegant. Here's to more exciting encounters. Love, Holly. My stomach dropped. Holly. I stood there for a long moment, staring at that note. My hands were shaking, but I didn't confront Clark. Not yet, because I needed to know for sure. I grabbed my phone and took photos. The watch box, the note card inside. I carefully arranged everything back exactly as I'd found it. I also took a photo of the watch itself when Clark left it on our dresser later that week. Evidence. I was collecting evidence. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up Instagram. I didn't use social media much, but Holly did. Her profile was public. Of course it was. She loved showing off her perfect life. I scrolled through her feed. Photos of expensive dinners, luxury hotels, designer shopping bags. Captions about treating herself and much-needed relaxation while Jason was away on business. Clark didn't have social media. He'd always said it was a waste of time. Now I wondered if that was just convenient. I kept scrolling, looking for, I didn't even know what, some sign, some proof. And then I found it. A photo from 3 weeks ago. Holly sitting at a restaurant, dressed up, smiling at the camera. The caption, treating myself to a lovely dinner. The date stamp matched one of Clark's recent business trips. But that wasn't what caught my attention. Holly was sitting by a window, and in the reflection of that window, clear as day, I could see the person taking her photo. It was Clark. I zoomed in, my heart pounding. Same build, same jacket I'd seen him pack for that trip. It was definitely him. I sat there staring at my screen, feeling sick. He'd lied. He was cheating. Again, and this time I wasn't going to forgive him. The next day, I called a divorce lawyer. Her name was Sandra Mitchell, and she came highly recommended. I explained everything. The note from Holly, the Instagram photo, the business trips. You need more evidence, Sandra said. Solid, undeniable proof. I know a good private investigator. He's discreet and thorough. If your husband is having an affair, he'll document everything. How long will it take? I asked. Depends. Could be a few days, could be a few weeks. But from what you've told me, it sounds like your husband has a pattern. Monthly trips, you said? Yes, always a week at a time, sometimes longer, I replied. Perfect. The PI can follow him on his next trip, get photos, timestamps, locations, everything you'll need for court. I used money from my savings, money I'd been putting aside from my freelance work, money Clark didn't even know about. 2 days later, I met with the private investigator. His name was Mark, and he was exactly what you'd expect. Calm, professional, no nonsense. Your husband's next trip is scheduled for when? He asked. End of the month, I said. He told me this morning he's going to be gone for a month. Said it's a big project at the other branch and they really need him. Mark raised an eyebrow. A month? That's a long time for a senior clerk. I know, I said. That's why I'm here. Don't worry, Mark said. I'll follow him. If he's having an affair, I'll get you proof. The last week of the month, Clark packed his bags. I hate leaving you and Lisa for so long, he said, kissing me on the cheek, but they really need me at the other branch. It's a big project. Where exactly is this branch? I asked, keeping my voice casual. About 3 hours away, he said vaguely. Small town. You wouldn't know it. The phone reception is terrible out there, so if you can't reach me, don't worry. I'll call when I can. He kissed Lisa goodbye, grabbed his bag, and left. I watched him drive away, then immediately texted Mark. He just left. Mark responded within seconds. On it. 2 weeks later, Mark called me. I have everything you need, he said. Can you come to my office? I drove there immediately, my heart pounding the entire way. Mark spread photos across his desk like a detective laying out evidence at a crime scene. Your husband never left Houston, he said. He drove straight to a condo on Park Street, luxury building, doorman, the works. He pointed to a photo of Clark entering the building. The condo is owned by Jason Reed, Mark continued, Holly Reed's husband. According to property records, it's supposed to be a rental property, but Clark has been staying there with Mrs. Reed for the past 2 weeks. He showed me more photos. Clark and Holly at restaurants, walking through a shopping district, getting into a car together, Jason's Mercedes. Every photo had a timestamp. Every location was documented. They're not even trying to hide, Mark said. They go out in public, act like a couple. They're confident no one will see them. I stared at the photos, feeling a strange mix of fury and satisfaction. Fury because my husband had been lying to me for months. Satisfaction because now I had proof. Undeniable, documented, time-stamped proof. Mark slid a thumb drive across the desk. Everything's on here, plus these hard copies for you. I need extra copies, I said. And I need you to print some additional photos for me. I showed him the photos I'd taken of the watch, the note card, and the box. Print these too, high quality, include them in both sets. Mark nodded. I can do that. Give me a day. The next day, I picked up everything. 2 complete sets of evidence, one for me, one for Jason. Each set included all of Mark's surveillance photos, plus the printed photos of the watch, Holly's note, and the box. I knew somehow that Jason would need to see this evidence. I didn't know when or how, but I wanted to be ready. I also had Sandra draft the divorce papers. Everything was ready. I want to serve them myself, I told Sandra. You'll need to have someone else physically hand them to him, Sandra explained. You can't serve them yourself since you're a party to the divorce, but if he signs them voluntarily, that works too. He'll sign them, I said. Trust me. I sat in my car staring at my phone. I had all the evidence I needed. Photos, timestamps, the condo address, 2 complete evidence packets, one for me, one for Jason. Divorce papers ready. But I wanted more than just a divorce. I wanted Clark exposed. At work, where everyone would know what kind of person he really was. So I called his office. The receptionist answered. Good afternoon, thank you for calling, I said, keeping my voice light and pleasant. This is Janine, Clark's wife. I need to speak with him urgently. Can you transfer me to the branch where he's working? He said he's helping another location, but I don't have the direct number. There was a pause. Let me transfer you to Dan, his manager, she said. Perfect. Dan picked up a moment later. Hi, Janine, what can I do for you? Hi, Dan, I said sweetly. I need to reach Clark. He said he's at another branch helping with a project. Can you give me the number there? I have something important to tell him. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Janine, Dan said slowly, we don't have another branch. What? I said, injecting just the right amount of confusion into my voice. Clark isn't on a business trip, Dan continued, and I could hear the anger creeping into his voice. He filed for a month of sick leave and vacation time. He submitted medical documentation saying he needed time off for personal health reasons. He told me he was on a business trip, I said, that you sent him to help another location because they were short-staffed. I never sent Clark anywhere, Dan said. And honestly, Janine, I've been suspicious of his excuses for a while. He's been filing sick leave requests for months, week-long trips, claiming he needs therapy or medical treatment. I kept asking for doctor's notes, and he kept saying he forgot to bring them. The whole office thought he was lying, but I couldn't fire him without proof. So he lied to me, I said quietly, and possibly to you too. Apparently so, Dan said. Janine, I'm going to have HR investigate this. If he's been lying about his medical leave and forging documents, he's done. Thank you for telling me, Dan. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, he said. I hung up and sat there for a moment, a small smile on my face. Step 1, complete. Now Dan would investigate. Clark would eventually be fired. And I would move forward with the divorce. Everything was falling into place. That evening, Lisa came downstairs and asked quietly, Mom, has Dad ever cheated on you? I froze. Why are you asking that? He's acting weird. Always on his phone. Always on these trips. I sat down. Yes, he's cheating now. Do you have proof? I showed her the photos from the private investigator, Clark and Holly at the condo, at restaurants, the watch with Holly's note. Lisa looked through them silently, her jaw clenched. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm divorcing him. Good. She took my hand. I choose you, Mom, always. Tears filled my eyes as I pulled her into a hug, my strong, wise daughter. At least Clark had given me that. 3 weeks into Clark's month-long trip, my phone rang late one evening. It was a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Benson? A woman's voice said. This is Memorial Hospital. Your husband Clark was involved in a car accident. He's here in the emergency room with broken ribs. You're listed as his emergency contact. My heart jumped, but not with concern, with something else. Anticipation, maybe. Is he okay? I asked. He'll recover, the nurse said. But you may want to come down. Was there anyone else in the car with him? I asked carefully. There was a brief pause. Yes, ma'am. There was another passenger, a female. She also has injuries but is stable. I see, I said. Thank you for letting me know. I'll be there. I hung up and sat there for a moment, processing. Holly was with him. In the car, both of them at the hospital, which meant Jason would be there too. I smiled slightly. Everything was falling into place. After weeks of planning, gathering evidence, preparing, this was it, the moment where everything would come to light, and I'd be ready. Lisa looked up from her homework. What was that? Your father was in a car accident. He's in the hospital. Is he okay? Broken ribs, he'll be fine, and he wasn't alone. Lisa's eyes widened slightly. She understood. Are you going? I looked at the clock. It was almost 9 p.m. Not tonight, I said. I'll go in the morning. I have some things to prepare first. I didn't sleep much that night, not because I was worried about Clark, but because I was planning, making sure I had everything I needed. The evidence packets, the divorce papers, everything. This was the moment I'd been waiting for, and I wasn't going to waste it. The next morning, I took my time, made coffee, had breakfast with Lisa, showered, did my hair. I packed everything I needed in my bag, the envelope with the extra copies of Mark's report for Jason, including the printed photos of the watch, the note, and the box. The divorce papers. Around 10 a.m., I finally drove to the hospital. When I walked into the emergency room, I could hear voices. One of them was angry. I followed the sound and saw him, Jason Reed. I recognized him from the reunion. He was standing near a gurney where Holly lay with an ice pack pressed to her head. Clark was on another gurney a few feet away, watching nervously. Jason was pacing, furious. My brand new Mercedes, Holly. I just bought that car. And you crashed it? The other driver, an older woman in a Prius. She could have been killed. It was an accident, Holly said weakly. I'm sorry. You were drunk, Jason snapped. Driving my car. He stopped and turned to Clark. And you You said you ran into Holly at a class reunion meetup at a bar? That you had too much to drink and she was dropping you off at your house? Clark nodded quickly. Yes. I'm so sorry, Jason. It shouldn't have happened. I'm really grateful to Holly for trying to help. I couldn't help it. I laughed. All three of them turned to stare at me. Jason's eyes narrowed slightly. We met at the reunion. You sat at our table. Yes, I said, walking closer. I'm Janine, Clark's wife. Clark's face went completely white. Holly looked like she was about to pass out. Jason, I said, looking directly at him, is that what they're telling you? A reunion? A meetup? Jason looked between me and them, clearly confused. Yes, they said they ran into each other at a bar. You know what Clark told me? I interrupted. That he's away on a month-long business trip, helping another branch, 3 hours away from Houston. I looked at Clark. But here he is, in Houston, in a car with your wife. Jason's expression shifted, suspicion dawning on his face. The truth is, Jason, they've been together for months, in your condo on Park Street, the one that's supposed to be rented out. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope. I have copies of evidence from the private investigator I hired. Photos, timestamps, locations, everything. I handed the envelope to Jason. His hands shook slightly as he opened it. He pulled out the photos and started looking through them slowly. Clark and Holly entering the condo building together, at restaurants, walking hand in hand, getting into his Mercedes. More photos of them at different locations, different days, timestamps on every single one. What? Jason's voice was barely controlled. What is this? That's your wife and my husband, I said calmly. Having an affair, for the past 6 months. Since our high school reunion. Holly started sobbing. Jason, please. Jason held up a hand, silencing her. He continued looking through the photos, his jaw clenched. Then he stopped. His face changed completely as he stared at one of the photos. It was the picture of the watch box with Holly's note card visible inside. Here's to more exciting encounters. Holly. He flipped to the next photo. The watch itself, sitting on a dresser. Jason's face went from angry to absolutely livid. This, he said, his voice shaking, this is from my collection. Holly made a small, desperate sound. That watch, Jason said slowly, looking up at her, is a limited edition piece, one of only a few made worldwide. I bought it at an exclusive auction. It was displayed in our walk-in closet, in the center case. He looked at Clark, then back at the photo of Holly's note. She gave you my $200,000 watch? The number hung in the air. $200,000. Clark couldn't even speak. He just stared, terrified. Where is it? Jason demanded, his voice cold. Clark's voice was barely a whisper. The accident? It was destroyed. Jason stood perfectly still for a long moment. Destroyed, he repeated quietly. Then he turned to Holly. You stole a $200,000 irreplaceable watch from my collection and gave it to him, and now it's destroyed. Jason, I'm sorry, I can explain. We're done, Jason said, his voice cold and final. My lawyer will contact you. Don't come home. Don't contact our daughters. Don't contact me ever again. He walked over to Clark's gurney. Clark shrank back against the bed. You destroyed my property, Jason said quietly. My lawyers will be contacting you. You're going to pay me back every cent of that $200,000. Clark's eyes went wide. I don't care, Jason cut him off. You'll pay for it. Every cent. Jason turned and walked toward me. He stopped, still holding the envelope of photos. Thank you, he said quietly, for showing me the truth. You deserve to know, I said, just like I did. Whatever you spent on the investigator, send me the invoice. I'll reimburse you. I started to protest, but he held up his hand. Please, he said, you saved me from more years of lies. It's the least I can do. Thank you, I said quietly. If you need anything for your divorce, a good lawyer, character witness, anything, let me know. Same to you, I said. We shook hands briefly. Two people betrayed by the same liars, now allies. Then Jason walked out of that emergency room, leaving Holly sobbing on her gurney. I took a breath and turned to Clark. He looked up at me, terrified and desperate. I reached into my bag and pulled out the divorce papers. I dropped them on his chest. Sign these. Clark stared at them, then at me. Janine, remember what I told you 16 years ago, I said, my voice ice cold. If you cheated again, you were out. No forgiveness. I meant it. Please, we can talk. No, we can't. You made your choice. You chose Holly. Now live with it. I pointed at the papers. Sign them now, or I'll make this much harder for you. Lisa and I don't need anything from you. Lisa, his voice broke. Does she know? Yes, I showed her everything, the photos, the evidence, all of it. I told her the truth and let her decide. And? Clark whispered, though I could see he already knew. She chose me, I said simply. She doesn't want to see you. She doesn't want to talk to you. You threw away your family for Holly, and now you have nothing. Clark started crying, tears streaming down his face. I felt nothing. You have 1 week to get your things out of my parents' house, I said. Sign the papers and stay away from me and Lisa. Clark reached for the papers with a shaking hand, wincing from his broken ribs. Do you have a pen? I pulled one from my purse and handed it to him. He stared at the papers for a long moment, tears still falling. Then he signed them. Every single page. Right there on that hospital gurney. He couldn't fight it. He had no money for a lawyer. He'd just been told he owed Jason $200,000 for a destroyed watch. He had nowhere to go except to Holly, who'd just lost everything too. He handed the signed papers back to me, his hand shaking. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm not, I said. And I walked out of that emergency room without looking back. 6 months later, Clark was fired. HR discovered every doctor's note was fake. Dan took his badge and laptop. Terminated for fraud. No one would hire him after that. Last I heard, he was working delivery jobs, barely surviving while paying off Jason's $200,000. Holly lost everything in the divorce. Jason got full custody. The girls chose him without hesitation. Clark and Holly moved into a cramped apartment, both working minimum wage, fighting constantly. They'd thrown away everything for nothing. Jason moved to another state with his daughters. He sent me a generous check. You saved me from more years of lies. I put it in Lisa's college fund. Lisa got into State University with a scholarship. The college was 30 minutes away, so she stayed home. We're a team, Mom. We bought her a used Honda from Mr. Stevens. Now she drives to campus every day and comes home every night. She's majoring in marketing. I want to be like you, Mom. My business is thriving. I'm making more than Clark and I ever did combined. Lisa never responded to Clark's messages. Eventually, he stopped trying. One evening, Lisa said, "Thank you for showing me what strength looks like." I realized then I'd won, not by destroying them, but by choosing peace, by choosing us. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. Clark and Holly are still together, still broke, still miserable. As for me, I'm happy. My daughter respects me. My business thrives. My home is peaceful. I'm free. And that's my melodic vengeance. So, that's our story for today. If you enjoyed it, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps. And please, drop a comment letting me know where you're tuning in from. It always amazes me to see how these stories connect with people around the world. This is Melodic Vengeance. Until next time, stay strong and remember that sometimes the best revenge is simply choosing yourself.
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Don't forget to follow for more content just like this. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.